a bird. Hello, this is Waylon Lewis. Let's bow in mutual respect. All right, so today I just want to outline something that should be obvious, and it probably was obvious 20 years ago, but in the swampy, crazy, wet, Wild West of media today, is no longer necessarily obvious to those of you, particularly if you're younger. So let's go over some basic terms. Media is a term that I kind of hate. It doesn't mean anything. Media is sort of like saying, hey, what do you want for dinner? I think I'd like food. It doesn't really say anything specifically. I want pizza, that's something specific. So when you say media, it could be PR, it could be public relations where they're trying to sell you something, it could be marketing, it could be advertising, it could be an ad agency, it could be great journalism, it could be TV entertainment, it could be TV journalism, it could be a whole host of random stuff. It could be a blog, it could be an op-ed, it could be whatever else I'm not thinking of. It could be anything. Media is a fine term. There's no reason to hate it, but I do hate it when it's applied to like, oh, I hate the mainstream media. That doesn't mean anything. That's like saying, oh, I hate the weather. Like, which weather do you hate? So journalism means the pursuit of truth. So you're investigating and you're reporting facts. And if you're wrong, you correct those facts. And if you have a point of view, you're transparent about that point of view. So it's not that it's objective, but that it's very honest. Op-eds are totally fine. Op-eds are a traditional form of journalism that are all opinion. So op-ed, opinion editorial, or actually I think it was opposite editorial, opposite page editorial. But basically it's opinion. You can think op-ed opinion. So those are fine because they're transparent. Waylon Lewis is writing op-ed in the New York Times, which would, make my life, about my view of Buddhism's evolution in the West. And it's just my opinion, but it's transparent about that. And it should be based on facts and stuff, but it can have a very clear opinion. Like the New York Times will have an op-ed by Mitt Romney or an op-ed by whoever, right? And then there's blogs. Blog is another super general term. It just means web blog. A blog can be like Elephant Journal. It can be, a lady just approached me where I was eating lunch. She's like, are you the guy who does those videos? And then, she's flattering. And then she's like, oh, so is Elephant like your side project or is that a full-time thing? And you're like, there's no way to really tell if a blog is a big thing with like 11 to 23 million readers a month and 24 staff, or a huge thing like the New York Times is basically a blog online, or if it's a puny little personal blog. Yeah. WordPress, we are on WordPress, New York Times is on WordPress, but like a mommy blog or a food blog or whatever. And none of that is pejorative. You can be small or huge, and that's great. But blog can mean your little opinion thing. It can mean you update it once a year. It can mean it's a real news site or writing site like Elephant, or it can mean that it's this great journalism, huge thing like New York Times or Washington Post. And then editorial is the exact same thing as in editorial is basically the same thing as op-ed. It's just a kind of an essay. What other terms do we want to go over? That's it. That's about it. So just know your terms. And the important thing is to know what you're reading. So if you're reading an opinion, you're not going to get offended by their opinion. You're going to be like, okay, this is your opinion. Cool. If you read journalism and it disagrees with you, you really have to examine yourself and say, maybe I have some preconceptions. So New York Times has done some positive articles on Trump, like his approach or his administration's approach to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They said this is highly overdue and it's great. But New York Times will obviously do critical stuff as well. But either way, it shouldn't be because the New York Times has a preset opinion. It should be because the facts, they gather all the facts and they say basically corruption bad, whether it's Obama or Clinton or Bush or Trump. And, these kind of sound economic policies are good, whatever.
So if you're researching Trump's opinion on climate change. It's really about thinking for yourself as you're looking it up on the internet, on the New York Times, on a personal blog, in the Washington Post. Think for yourself and reflect on what you're reading. Realize it may or may not be 100% the same as what another source is saying.
Yeah, I mean, what we've lost is that 20 years ago or 30 years ago, I think only 20 years ago, you could turn on TV or what have you, and you'd have like Dan Rather and Peter Jennings, and you'd have like a very short list of major news sources that were respected. And then you'd have lots of little ones that weren't. Now, even the big ones are so small compared, everyone's in their little silos and niches, and it's helping all of us become way more partisan about everything. And again, not all of this is about politics. One of the most violent reactions I've ever had on Elephant was when I put up an article about how 99% of gluten-free products are bad for you, which they are, by the way. And because they're marketed and they're fatty and they're not really about your health, they're about the corporations trying to take advantage of a trend that is based on some real health concerns. So thank you so much. And any questions are always welcome.